Over 10 years ago now, we had the first ever pro CSGO game, and it was weird. In fact, so weird that when I played the game first, it made me quit for a couple of years. But still, it's brought us to where we are today, so let's take a look at what it was like. Now, around the time of this match in 2011, CS was essentially dying. The player base was split into 1.6 and Source, and there was much more beginner-friendly games like StarCraft and League of Legends that were taking a lot of the new players, so CSGO really needed to be a hit. And this match, which is Americas versus Europe, was a bit of a sight to behold, because it looked like CS, but of course it played, especially the gun rounds, like something completely different. And because there's no GoTV, this is a 720p muted YouTube VOD of a Zeus round. But you might have noticed actually what is cool is that the default T knife is the flip knife and the default CT knife is the bayonet, which would cost you several $100s today. Now, when it comes to gunplay, pistols were the least weird of all of the weapons. Really, it was the rifles that were the most obviously different, and you'll actually see that this pistol round plays out fairly similarly to what you might see today with the change Dust 2, where CTs push their way up mid to fight Ts outside long A. The difference is the nade kills are raining in, and I think nades may have done a larger amount of damage here in the beta because it seems like out of the 3 nade kills they get in this round, some of them were on full health opponents, and they're kind of just winging them out there. Zonic is going to get one, and I suppose that's kind of the Zonic effect with all of these nade kills, but regardless, the pistols don't seem all that odd outside of Dust 2 looking like old Dust 2 and players simply not hitting shots in quite the way they do today. Now, when I said gunplay, I was really talking about rifles, and you'll see here on the first gun round, the CTs buy 4 FAMASs, which you would never see today because the FAMAS is awful. But it's not actually a coincidence. They had been practicing this game before the match, so they do know what the rifles look and feel like, and that's why when Trace here with the M4A4 gets into a really good position, and by the way, the A1S isn't even in the game yet, but he gets into a great position and struggles to get anything done whatsoever. And of course, Zonic goes down as well, but you can kind of understand the problems that people had with the rifles in this game. They just didn't feel right. And combining that with the acceleration, which felt super high in this game early on, there was a lot of struggle to do things with standard rifles. Wait, hold on. With Volcano and lower tunnels, how did Get Right flank?
A little bit different than be planted here any moment now. There's another man coming up close range. We saw there that the FAMAS have been picked up by K-Shot, but there's 3, 4 Get Right, showing that he's an absolute beast. There's 4 for Get Right.
Dude, where did he come from? What? Oh, right there. Now, of course, outside of the gunplay, the strategy wasn't quite there yet either, unsurprisingly, as players weren't used to the Molotov, and nowadays you would see the best spawn molly long and then fight it against pistols. However, in this case, off of a flash with no mollies, they just fall back and double nade the corner. Then they go for some cat control and they leave a FAMAS towards car, and the reason I mentioned the FAMAS earlier, they actually use these FAMASs in burst fire. Yes, the FAMAS does have a burst fire option that people used to use. And of course, Storm has a PP Bazone. Now, as much as everything is completely different, some things of course do remain the same, like this double boost up on Cat, or what you're going to see here from Nothing, which is a really smart play in my opinion. As he moves towards Cat with a Glock only, he hears some footsteps on Cat, quickly jumps out middle, knows with 3A it's likely mid might not be held, and he gets in a CT spawn to set up to get himself a kill. Now, what is a bit odd is that the CTs are contesting Cat against pistols, but given its 4th round, they probably thought it was a buy, and I'm not going to blame them for that at all in this case. What you might have noticed there, though, is this smoke seems to function very differently than smokes do nowadays. I think they made that change somewhere between beta and launch. Regardless, Team America ends up in a pretty solid situation, especially after Volcano is going to be able to pick up a Deagle 2K here at long range. So some things look familiar here, especially Get Right flanking long with the FAMAS and getting another kill. And then into the 1v1, he's actually going to take a little while to realize the bomb is on B, which is understandable. I'm sure he's not used to the sound. And he's going to not pick up the M4A4, instead opting to remain with the FAMAS in burst mode, and do
Down
this.
to less than half.
They don't know what positions to go for.
And here we go. He's going to go around the corner, and Get Right will come jumping in there. And again, superb reactions from the Swede.
And then, of course, we've got some standard NA copium.
You know, this legendary American team that Midway's been talking about are...
it's early. It's early. We're still okay.
Put up a round.
Which you'll definitely see today. You're going to notice Team America, knowing they can't win any rounds normally, are going to buy auto snipers and absolutely destroy them.
And so this is where it should get interesting to see how the game's really going to play out. And there is K-Sharp and Volcano coming in with some big shots right there.
And that leads to a moment I think we can all understand if you've ever played a single game of matchmaking Dust 2. The CTs are scared to cross because they just got wrecked in the previous round, so nothing runs into B absolutely for free with the bomb and takes the entire bomb site. And then he continues forward, jumps up to the window, and dies. And honestly, a lot of the rest of the first half just turns into a bit of a meme where K-Sharp and Fraud keep buying auto snipers and getting a ton of kills. But did you notice the ridiculous amount of fog on this map? Yes, that's not a smoke, it's just fog. Or the full speed crouch movement. Or how about Ops moving full speed while scoped in? Now, the reason this looks so different than you might have even seen a year later at the first pro tournaments is that this was initially made by Hidden Path Entertainment as a CS port, and Valve took that and decided to turn it into CSGO. So, of course, there was a ridiculous amount of changes necessary to make this into what CSGO is. And you still did have the hallmarks of what you might expect from a CSGO game today. You had a scoped Galil. No, you had a P90 get a 3K from a completely new player. That's more like what you're expecting. But if you want to hear what it felt like from a longtime CS player, I personally played at a CS event in 2012 where the last place Counter-Strike Source team placed first in the CSGO portion when they had just installed the game. And at that moment, I vowed to never play CS again. Bad take, I know. But the game really did get a lot better than this later on. Honestly, it wasn't all bad, but it didn't feel like CS that we came to know and love, and CS players have a tendency to hate change even in small forms, let alone an entirely new game. There were some obvious problems like the way smokes worked, and as I mentioned, rifles simply didn't feel right, but as much as Valve is memed, they did actually care, and they made CS into the game we know and love today. Honestly, watching this back, could we ask for one thing from Valve though? Because this Galil looks super cool. On another note, how did they let this level of aim punch remain in the game for so long? I think this was patched in 2015. This is ridiculous. Coming back to this game has really been giving me a lot of sympathy for new players today. You see even legends of the game like Zonic, Nothing, and Get Right are struggling to the point where they're using FAMASs and auto snipers to try and get anything done in this game. It's an extremely hard game to learn if you're new, even if you're used to the Counter-Strike franchise. And even with this looking very different than it does today, you can still understand and sympathize with how hard this is to learn as a new player.
Almost picked up the auto sniper.
And the HP difference is significant here, you can tell.
Yeah, I think it's one shot and Khan's dead. So he should maybe stay a little bit hidden. Actually decides to go for those shots and will be taken down. Headshot from Storm.
He's on rim. Mo! Oh my god, no! Fuck! Oh my god.
Bright future for the game.
Could be, I mean...
Anyways, thanks for watching, and check out this video that Valve thinks you'll like.